was my daughter. I have her trained to check uh check in with me if she's gonna go buy stuff after school because her bank account is attached to mine. So anytime she buys something, I get an alert. So when I know she goes to the places that her and I both like, get in her ass. Like, yo, why didn't I get the phone call?
Yeah,
So that's what that.
you're still using ATM cards, bro?
Nah, I use Apple Pay.
Oh, okay.
She just started using Apple Pay, but still, I get the alert.
I'm just saying, like, especially if you're gonna have your kids on something, I would have it on a limited credit card that gets points at least.
We thought about that for a minute. I should. I'm just like so. I don't know. I still have like that. I guess that old school mentality where I'm very careful about opening up credit cards. So even when somebody asks me, I'm like, ah. So I don't even get to think that deep and like, oh, that's good for my kid.
No, I get it, but like for example, like I use, and this could be to anybody listening as a jewel. I'm 100% with you because my early financial life was just, like I destroyed
Wow.
my credit, because you growing up broke, you get, they called it predatory lending. I was getting credit cards at, applications and approved for credit cards at 16.
Yeah. Oh, damn.
I had a platinum credit card by the time I was like 19.
That's that fake ID I was rocking down in Miami back
No,
then.
no, I was doing the credit bouncing. I
Oh
was
yeah.
paying off one card with another, so then that card boosted up my line, my credit limit, and then
Yeah.
I kept doing that until I got a platinum. But then that musical chairs ended because I wasn't paying them.
Right.
But anyways, long story short is I'm on that old school mentality too. But I have, like, for example, one of my cards right now that I have is attached to my American Airlines
Points.
uh points, right? So every time you buy, it gives you miles.
Yeah.
It goes towards giving you miles. And I'm platinum. I haven't flown much lately, and I maintain my executive platinum status because what I do is I use my cards for pretty much everything I do, but I pay them off. I mean, I
Full.
pay them off damn near every other day. I'm looking at my cards and just paying and paying and
Oh
paying.
wow. Damn. So you extra. You're not even waiting for the bill. You just
Nah. My
right
wife was
away.
always like, "Yo, wait for no," because when you wait for the bill,
It looks crazy.
usually it's gonna give you some kind of an interest on it.
Nah. Well, it depends. It depends because I've actually this is what I've been doing forever. You let that everything in your current statement. If you pay all of that off, you incur no interest by the due date.
Right. Okay. Uh, Yes, I get that. But again, I think that's where that snowball effect starts to happen because it also depends on the type of person. I'm very visual. So to me, it's like, I rather open up, the app for the credit card and see a couple $100 or even $1,000 that I owe and be like, oh, cool, I'll pay that. No problem. Versus waiting for the end of the month and that be $5,000, $6,000
Yeah.
that I owe.
Yeah. It looks crazy. It hurts.
Where I'm quicker to pay the lower amounts several times than the higher amount one time,
Yeah.
right?
That's
So
like that's the common thing among human beings.
yeah,
It's
so
why
that's
it's why
that's what I'm doing.
4.99 is always going to be 15.99 or whatever, even though the
Right.
quality of the thing might not necessarily be there.
The other thing for you to consider too, especially again if you're using an ATM or whatever you're using, I don't know how Apple Pay works with this, but one thing that I learned from financial peoples is using credit cards is safer because in terms of fraud. In
True.
terms of fraud and in terms of customer service, if something you buy isn't what if you need to return it or whatever, you can usually call the card company up if the the person who sold you the thing or the business that sold it to you is being weird or funny about returning something. You could usually call the credit card company
And they
and be
handle it.
like, this is not what I paid for, boom boom, and they'll refund you the money. Or if fraud happens, they're covered. If something happens with your connected to your bank account, it's gonna take a lot longer for you to retrieve that money that's lost.
That's a great point. Okay.
So so just food for
I
thought.
like that. Let me ask you about the credit card bouncing. So was there a period throughout the year that normally worked, or was it kind of like all over the place as far as like when you would find a new one with the grace period that you needed versus where you were with your current one.
I'm talking about when I was bouncing
Yeah, from credit card to credit card, the balances.
balances. No, I mean I don't quite remember. This is me
That long ago.
17 years old, whatever.
Oh damn! It was damn. You was up on that at 17.
I just told you I had a platinum card at 19. Now, mind you, someone might think platinum now means some crazy amount, but back then, I guess for my age or whatever, platinum was like 25 grand. But 25 grand for a 19-year-old who's
Right,
broke.
out of here.
Like I remember when I got that platinum card, me and my boys went to the club.
Yes,
And mind you, this is clubs where back then they didn't even check IDs, or I had a fake ID though, but
no
you
doubt.
could cop, if you looked age, they just sold you liquor. And I remember it wasn't even an expensive bottle of champagne, but buying bottles of anything at that time period, especially in that era and being that age, wasn't a thing. But I was like, yo, we're gonna show out here, boy. We just get this. And it was like I don't know, like $100 bottle
Yeah,
of some cheap ass champagne. That was terrible, but it looked crazy when we
yeah.
got it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, damn those Miami clubs, bro.
Yeah.
You
But
did you ever hit up
yeah, of
Opium down there?
course. Yeah,
Oh,
man. Of course. That was the era I DJ'd at Opium.
or
Yeah, I mean, there was an era, a good 10-year stretch that I DJ'd at least once in every single club in Miami.
hot spots down there.
Yeah.
All right, so I need to that's actually good advice. I need to look at that, and I actually want to look at some of that credit card balance thing because I think I want to get into some shit in a minute.
And the Apple Pay that she's using, is it connected to her to build her credit?
Yes,
Okay.
it's her own joint.
Because we've learned that too. But
Look at
but
that.
yeah,
Look, that was the financial minute on the Fatherhoods podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed that jewel.
where we at with it's talking about finance. Actually, one of my banks called me today, and it was like a
Hold
final.
on. Did you hear the stunt? One of
No,
my bankers
no,
hollered
no,
at me.
no. Listen, I'm not even stunning. I'm not trying to say I got it like that. What I'm trying to say to you is this: when the financial crisis happened and banks were closing,
Yeah.
if there's one thing that I think I learned just looking at it, not that I even had it back then at all like that, but just seeing what people were going through, I was like, when I get bread, I'm not keeping it in one bank alone.
Mhm.
I'm spreading that shit out, because if one fails, I'm not gonna lose all my bread,
Right.
because that happened to people.
Yeah.
But anyways, financial advisor from the bank called and was talking to me about different stuff. And one thing that they put me onto, and he says that the nickname for this, I don't think he wanted me to share this with people, but I mean, I don't know why he would even care. But he said there's an insurance policy out there, because insurance policies are something that is leveraged a lot by the wealthy.
Yeah. The financial
It's a
vehicles.
tool. It's a financial tool. But people don't think about that.
Yeah.
The average person definitely doesn't think about it. They think of like, oh, insurance, you gotta pay insurance. I don't got the money to do all that, blah blah blah. But he told me there's a specific insurance that it's life and for retirement, like either or. And it's called a LERP insurance.
LERP.
I don't know. He just said LERP. So life, something, and retirement. LERP.
Uh, I'm looking this
Anyways,
up right now.
but he
Life
says
insurance retirement plan.
the nickname of it amongst the wealthy is called a Rich Roth,
A Rich Ross. Not
right?
Rick,
That's
not to
the
be confused with Rick Ross.
Not to be confused with Rick Roth. And basically, what he was telling me is that you get this policy and you can build a whole financial plan based around the policy, depending on how much money you want to put into it. And it's basically like a
Gotcha.
high yielding savings account, but money you're putting into something you can't take out. But
Yeah.
when within a certain amount of years that you have it planned, that it'll allow you to take out, which has to be, put together by whoever's putting the insurance policy together for you. But it was pretty ill, because if you put a certain amount of money in and you plan accordingly with the amount of money you're putting in, within a 10-year time frame, you could be getting a significant amount of money a year, which is very livable money. Let's say you don't work or anything, you're retired or you're disabled or something happens, and it's gonna give you 6 times the amount of money you put in.
But
For
does it?
because
That sounds like a whole life, like a derivative of a whole life policy. Have you looked into those at all?
yeah, I have.
But your bank guy, he called it a LERP.
He called it a LERP. We're gonna follow up on this. We're gonna talk again soon.
Okay.
Because he says that they have to, like, they kind of run all these numbers, and they run all these things to different scenarios, and it's like depending on how much you put money here, you in this many years, how much, like, what you want out of this, they have to run all these different scenarios for, and plus you have to also be approved because
Yeah.
it's still a life health type insurance, and you have to make sure they have to know that you're not going to die tomorrow, and it's still a life insurance, so if you do die, it pays out. But
It pays out.
but what he was saying, the difference between this and a traditional life insurance, even the ones that you pull your money out of, is that this one pays, like, it's more beneficial to you if you don't die. You know, say obviously, because it acts as an investment account in a sense,
Like a piggy bank to some degree with interest.
with super, it's like supercharged interest.
Interesting. Okay, so just to recap for the listener, in case you're interested, EFN is talking about uh LERP, which is a life insurance retirement plan,
Mhm.
LIRP. Um, we know nothing about it yet. This is
Nope.
just something that he heard.
And we are not financial advisors, so do not take our advice. I'm just regurgitating what someone just told me over the phone.
Yes, we are just some ignorant ass dads that do a podcast and use it for our own enjoyment and hopefully your entertainment as well.
Right.
But that is interesting. I never heard of a LERP. So
I
I'm gonna
never heard of that at all.
look into that.
And I'm gonna talk to our mutual homie and
Yeah.
ask him what he thinks. And that this financial advisor, he's for the bank, so it's felt a little bit more customer survey corporate-ish.
Salesy, yeah.
But the guy was, pretty cool. He was like, look, man, I think people should have multiple financial advisors so that you're just checking, like, checks and balances on each one,
Yeah.
which is, you know who has, like, that's a different tax bracket when you start saying you have multiple financial advisors. So that's the goal, ladies and gentlemen. The goal is to be able to get in a world where we say to ourselves, we should have multiple financial advisors.
That's right.
I don't even know how to use the one financial advisor I have now correctly.
Yeah, but on the topic of finances, as it relates to the kids, my son wakes up this morning and he tells me that I have an idea. And this is like he's not even out of bed, like literally just wiping the coal out of his eye.
All right.
And he goes, I know how to make some money. I'm like, all right, let me hear this. So he goes, I'm gonna rake leaves in the fall and spring, and I'm going to shovel snow. I was like, okay, age old, tried and true,
All right.
neighborhood hustle. And then I'm like, so as soon as he said it, my initial reaction was like, bro, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. That was what I wanted to say. And I have a tendency to like use my analytical brain in a way that discourages my kids sometimes. And that's not the intention. It's more just like your level setting, like, yo, have you thought about that? All these different things that you got to kind of factor in order to do X.
AKA,
And
you're a hater.
you can say that. You can say that. And so I caught myself and I stopped and I'm like, okay, so tell me about it. Like, explain your idea a little bit more. He's telling me he kind of got excited about it. And I'm like, okay, you just got to figure out for the leaves how you're going to collect them and where you're going to put them after. And then for the snow plowing or whatever, how are make sure that you're comfortable doing it because he's only done it once. So I'm like, if you're going to do it, you got to do it well because it's a service that people are paying for. So you got to make sure that, like, when I ask you to make your room up, you're doing a pretty shitty job. So that's not what you can give if you're getting paid for it. And he kind of sat there for a second and thought about it. And I thought I fucked up when I said that. I was like, oh, I just discouraged him. But it kind of just made him think like, okay, it has to be quality. All right, I get it. And so now his mind is going for this entrepreneurial thing. And I'm trying to think like, how do I continue to encourage that creativity when it comes to that? Because like I said, like it's easy for me to just be like, hit you with so many think about this and think about that it's going to discourage anybody. So I mean, I know your kids are young, but if you were in my
Right.
shoes, like how do you approach that?
Man, well, you said before that you would include them in what you were doing with Fly Dad gear.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there you were already doing something
Yeah.
to get those creative and entrepreneurial juices flowing. Um, yeah, you just gotta. I think you gotta back them and let them do things trial and error,
Yeah.
but keep like pushing them to like understand. Like if this doesn't work, you gotta try again. Keep figuring it out until you find the one that works, and then kind of keep instilling in them that failure is a good thing because you learn from each failure. I wish someone would have told me that, like really, really instilled that in me at a young age. Like
Yeah.
failure is good. No one ever said that. Like no one says that. You
No, and
know?
think about how we operate within society, just and not even like broad society, just like in your own neighborhood, right? Like there's always this like, you're wrong, you're wrong. And every time you're wrong, like it's a diss, right? It ain't
Right.
like you're not learning nothing. It's more just like, yo, you're a dummy or even failing.
But that's also the ammunition needed for failure to be even positive because and again, these are all things that maybe no one taught us, but maybe if somehow we can articulate this to our kids, we can arm them with all the necessary tools. Because we tell them, look, you explain to them why failure is so good, but then they're gonna be like, oh, but it's uncomfortable because then people laugh at you and people this, and you say, you know what? But that's part of why it's good because that you're gonna want to overcome that and show those naysayers that you're capable of doing something.
Mhm.
Like that's the ammunition needed to like, to load your energy, whatever. You just want to like, I want to say get back because you don't want the revenge factor of it,
Right. Right.
but you
But
just
in a way it
it
is.
inspires you.
Yeah.
It inspires you because you want to prove people wrong, but ultimately you gotta, again, no nothing is perfect in what we're saying, but although you want them to be inspired to prove people wrong, it'd be great to be able to instill in them that although that you got to know mentally, although you have that inspiration to prove them wrong, that ultimately it's really about proving yourself right
Yeah.
and instilling confidence in yourself. And one thing that about trial and error that I think is really awesome is that you can always think back of that like you get confidence out of experience. No matter if the experience is bad or good, but experience gives you confidence because you're like, what else can go wrong? Like it's all gone wrong already,
Hmm.
so I'm fine, I'm good, like, and I've been able to get through this thing that went wrong and get through this thing that went wrong. So you kind of build that confidence and those muscles to be like, failure ain't nothing. And then you're gonna and then what happens is you eventually get to that one winning thing. And then the next hurdle is how to manage winning at something or doing well at something. And that's a whole other, you know, bag that you got to figure out, of tools that you're going to need to navigate being good at something and maintaining it. So,
That's a good point. Cause yeah, it's you gotta climb the mountain to get to the win. And then
right.
once you get to the win, there's another mountain because you gotta figure out how to navigate that. Cause you could easily fall all the way back down or just like manage it incorrectly.
Yeah.
That is
Um
good.
Before we get out of here, what talking about like finances and work and different things, man, my son, he man, he killed me the other day because he's been going through like a little bit of an emotional roller coaster. I don't know if it's the age. He's about to turn 4 years old. So I don't know if there's I feel like my daughter kind of went through something like this too,
Mhm.
where it's like, like a growth thing. Um and I usually tell the kids, I'm very lucky because in what I do for work in terms of what keeps me away from them is mainly when I do drink champs
Yeah.
because it's like a whole day night thing. I don't come back They don't see me till the next day, basically.
Right.
Um, and I'll tell them, oh, daddy's got to work today, and they know what that means. Although I work every day, but it's not the same. So when I tell them daddy's got to work, that means they're not going to see me that night. That's what that means. So I tell them, and then usually they're okay. And I'm like, be good with mom, and all this stuff. But this one time I tell my son, I'm like, he's like, oh, tomorrow, can you pick me up at school? And I go, I can't.
Oh,
I go, I gotta work tomorrow. And usually there's nothing wrong. When I say that, everything's fine. Dude, he looked at me, his eyes started to water, and then he just was like, I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know. And he putting his head down. I was putting him in the seatbelt in the car. He's grabbing the seatbelt and putting her, I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know. And I'm like,
oh
what the heck is
man.
going on here? And dude, it just devastated me, man.
Oh,
And he cried. Like we were driving back to the house from the gym. He was with me, and he was just crying the whole time. He was just sad, and I'm just like, dude. And it's just like the type of thing that makes me say to myself, I don't want to work anymore.
yeah, yeah,
And not because I don't want to work, because I want to just be with my son and make him
yeah.
happy.
Damn, bro.
Anyways, I
What?
worked, and then this morning, one of the other joys they get is when they come to wake me up from the night they didn't see me, and they'll wake me up, and he came straight to the bed. And he was like, I missed you so much.
Oh, so that was like the continuation of that episode. Like after you came back.
He says that he's said that before, but it meant so much more this time because of what had happened. Yeah.
Yo, that's the most important time, bro. Being with your family is the most important thing. Um,
I gotta run, brother.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's all good. Tune in next week, y'all. Peace.
Pizza.